Hey, good morning, guys. Well, it's another Tuesday where I didn't get a video shot ahead of time. I've been struggling to kind of keep up here lately. It's been just so incredibly busy, but it won't last forever. I'll get back on track. But I wanted to go ahead and get a video for you guys out today, and I figured, well, we'll just do it live. As Bill O'Reilly says, we'll do it live. And just take you guys along with me on the morning chores that I go along on. And let's talk about summertime and keeping your animals, because summertime it can be the hardest time to keep your animals with depending on where you live, of course. Here, you know, it's been in the high 90s. Hey, good morning. Who's that? Christopher Stone. Good morning to you. I may have a hard time responding to all the chats that come in today, guys, so forgive me if I don't. I'm working off my phone here and doing chores while we're doing this video, so it may be hard for me to kind of keep up with what's being said. Good morning to you, Josh. Good morning. So where was I going with that? Let's just walk and talk here. Hopefully the camera's not too shaky. So again, summertime can be tough on your animals, especially around here. You know, we've been in the high 90s, heat indexes of close to about 100 degrees for a couple of weeks now. And that's pretty hot. That's tough on your animals. And there's a couple of things that you can do. So hang on here. I got to focus on two things at one time. What are you after, Max? Oh, saw a squirrel or something. So anyway, yeah, it can be tough on your animals, especially the rabbits. Rabbits are really the ones that struggle with the heat the most. We'll talk about those guys a little bit more here in just a second. Let's go move the chicken tractor here this morning. These guys are getting big. Sorry for the shaky video. Good morning. It's 2 p.m. in Slovenia. I'm not sure, I missed that. 2 p.m. Well, it's like 6:30 in the morning, 6:40 in the morning. So I'm actually running a little behind schedule. What I normally am. Usually I'm doing this stuff a little bit earlier in the morning, but anyway, these guys are actually doing pretty good in the summer. Now, where I've got them back here in this area of my yard, it stays pretty shaded, so they don't get much afternoon sun, which is the hottest part of the day. They get a little bit in the mornings, but it's really not that bad. They stay pretty shaded back here. It stays a little bit cooler in this area back here. So they're doing pretty good, other than just drinking a lot of water. I mean, they go through that 5-gallon water about every day. Let me get these guys moved here real quick. Oh. Yeah, it's gonna need to be filled up. Watch out, watch out. But, you know, that really is the key with the chickens. They don't mind the sun so much. Give them some shade, make sure they have plenty of water. They do just fine. They're not really struggling too much in the heat. Give me a second here, let me get this going. Oh, come on, guys. Watch out. Wait, get off, dude. Get off. Make sure I got it moved enough, and I did. This is the funniest part, I think, bringing the feed to the chickens. I know you guys can't see me here. Let me turn the camera so you can see what I'm doing. It's probably gonna be hard to hear me too, because I don't have an external mic hooked up here, but hopefully this will give you can see anyway what I'm doing. It's always funny to give these guys the food, because when I bring the food to them, it's like they haven't eaten in weeks. They're already, you guys can't see them from back there probably, but they're going after the fresh grass, just pecking away at it. Hey, watch out, watch out, watch out. There we go. And they're only probably about 2 weeks away from processing. Maybe I could do it this weekend. I could process some of them this weekend. Who is that? Somebody, PKK $209 super chat. I don't know what PKK, oh, that's the Danish, okay. So that must be Lars with a 209 Danish crowns, is that right? I always forget that. But a super chat coming in already in the morning. Thank you guys so much for that, I appreciate that. So anyway, let's talk about these chickens for just a minute. In the heat of summer, they do okay. You give them a little bit of shade, make sure they have plenty of fresh water, and they're doing fine. There's no problems with them. They handle the heat pretty well. there's not much else. I mean, these guys are getting big now. They're right at 6 weeks old. They probably got another week, maybe 2 weeks before I process them and add them to the freezer. I might do some of them this weekend, some of the bigger ones this weekend, and then hold off another week for the rest. But they're doing pretty good. They're just, I mean, they're going through the food like crazy. That 5-gallon feeder I've got, they empty that out in 2 days. So they eat half of it one day, half of it the next day, and it holds about half a bag of food. So I'm going through a bag of food about every two to 3 days, somewhere right around in there. So anyway, I got to get the water filled up for them. So let's go do that real quick. And what is that? What breed are they? With the chickens, they are Cornish cross. So incredibly fast growing. Says really cool place. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What else was I going to say about the chickens? Yeah, there's not much as far as, you know, keeping the chickens cool that you have to do. Again, if you can keep them in some shade. And that tractor, I know there were some concerns about that. A couple of people had commented that the metal roof and the metal siding might trap some heat in there, cause like a greenhouse effect. Hasn't been a problem so far. Chickens are doing just fine in it. I come out and check on them in the afternoons after the heat of the day. They don't really seem overly distressed or anything like that. But they are going through the water. Like I said, they go through 5 gallons of water a day. Every day I gotta fill this thing up. So we'll get this done and then we'll go. Let's talk about the quail for just a second, how they handle the heat. The quail do get a little bit more stressed out than the chickens. If you go out in the middle of the day, the hottest part of the day, you can kind of see them panting a little bit. Somebody's got a comment there. Yeah, 5 gallons a day of water. That's a lot of water. But where was I going with that? So the quail, you know, you go out in the middle of the day, you can see the quail kind of panting. You can tell that they're not real comfortable, but they do okay. They handle it pretty well. Again, the key is making sure that they have water. Don't let them run out of water. They are starting to go through the water a little bit faster as well because it's summertime and it's hot out. But that, you know, 5-gallon water for the birds that I've got out there. What's that comment there? I have Buff Orpingtons, Barred Rock, and Americanas, all super sweet girls. Yeah, these are meat chickens, so I'm not keeping them for, you know, egg laying. These are just simply for meat production. Oh, let's grab this. We'll go back out there and put the water in the chicken tractor. The quail, you know, they handle the heat okay. Again, they're struggling a little bit more. Oh, I had those breeds too. Okay, good. This is hard to do. Live broadcast, doing my chores and all that kind of stuff, keeping on track, keeping focused. So the quail do handle, like I said, handle the heat a little bit better than rabbits and things do, but they do seem a little bit more stressed out than the chickens. And, you know, if you go out there in the middle of the day, you will see what breed are the quail. The quail are Coturnics. We'll go check on them next. It's next on my list. Hang on, Max, come. Come. Come on, good boy, come. Good, down. Down. Good boy. Got to get him under control because otherwise he'll just chase the chickens around. All right, let me get this water in here and then we'll talk about the quail. Apparently I can't do 2 things at one time. There you go, guys. You got water and food for the day. Yes. Good boy. All right, so now let's go collect eggs, talk about the quail. So, well, where did I put my egg bucket? Oh no, my egg bucket's way over there. Gotta go get my egg bucket. Hang on just a second. Let me just set this down here for a minute. I will go get it and I will be right back. And you can see the quail hutches back here where they're at, under the shade of this tree, which helps out a lot. I'll talk more about that here in just a second. All right, that didn't take me too long. Sorry about that, off camera for just a minute, but it was easier than trying to carry the camera over there and all that. All right, so checking on eggs here. Again, one of the keys to keeping your animals healthy and happy in the summertime, other than, you know, making sure they have, we recently bought quail, are 9 weeks old. They aren't laying yet, but I got them for free. All right, appreciate your video. Okay, I missed some of those comments. But anyway, something about quail not laying, 9 weeks old, give them a little bit of time. Assuming you live in North America, we're now getting to where the days are pretty long and they should start laying any time now. You know, 8 to 12 weeks is about when they generally start laying. All right, so let me grab these eggs out of here and then we'll talk about this. These guys are in full production right now. I'm getting tons of eggs from them. And babies are growing. Let me open this up, maybe we can see them. You can kind of see, hopefully, I don't know if you can see them from there or not, but those are the baby quail, about 3 weeks old right now, doing just fine. Got plenty of food and water. So they're hanging in there, no problems. All right, so one of the keys, again, to keeping your animals healthy, other than making sure they have fresh water all the time, that's probably the most important thing. But the second thing is shade. And not just, like, this has a roof on it, but that's not enough shade because the sun hits that directly, it's gonna heat up. It's gonna heat up in the whole hutch. So it's important to get them in a place like this where I've got a bunch of tree cover over it so they don't really get full sun. There's a little bit in the afternoon when the sun's hanging pretty low in the sky. It's past the hottest part of the day at that point where the sun does hit the edge of these hutches, you know, directly. But it's pretty late evening at that point. It's really past the heat of the day. It's not that big of a deal. Try to keep it to where they're in the shade of another, you know, like a tree, another building, something like that, to where the sun's not directly hitting the hutch, and during the hottest part of the day anyway. And that will help a lot with keeping them healthy, keeping them cool. Right now they're doing just fine because it's not hot out yet. I'm starting to sweat a little bit, but it's really not hot. Let me grab these eggs from these guys here, and then we'll go talk about the rabbits a little bit. But, you know, as long as you can do that, as long as you can give them some shade, give them a place to get out of the wind when the weather does get bad, they do just fine. Honestly, they hang out in these sandboxes almost all the time, even when it's super hot out. Where are all your guys' eggs? Oh, I collected eggs from them last night. I forgot. They were laying early yesterday, and I started a batch of eggs in the incubator, and I collected what they had in here and went ahead and stuck those in the incubator too. So I only got 2 eggs out of them overnight, but got a bunch of them out of there yesterday. Okay, so, you know, that's it with the quail. I mean, just, again, give them some shade, give them some, I have Coturnics, and they're really great pets. Awesome. Max, leave those chickens alone. Come on. Come on. Now, come on. Get my dog back in here. Tripod's a little bit off kilter here. Oh well, you guys will be crooked for just a second. Max, come. There you go, good boy, come on. So, let's go, come on, pick it up. Come on, nobody wants to wait on you all day. There you go, good boy. All right, so again, you know, shade, water, that's really all you need to do for the quail. They do just fine. You know, you can see them a little bit in the afternoon, sometimes panting a little bit. But again, as long as they've got, you know, shade of something like a tree, something like that over them during the heat of the day, and plenty of fresh water to access, they're fine. There's no problems there. Somebody said, very cute dog. Yeah, he's a good dog. He really is. Can't complain about him at all. All right, let's talk about the rabbits. The rabbits is probably the hardest part about keeping animals in the summer, or hardest animal to keep in the summer. They have big fur coats on, and summer really affects them. Now, right now, you can see them running around the cages. They're eating, they're bouncing around, the little babies. Here, we'll bring you up close. You can see the baby rabbits probably. About 3-week-old babies right now. And let's see if I can. This is different than shooting on a regular camera. I can't see. So, okay, there we go. I think we got them now. So they are 3-week-old babies. I only got 4 of them left. I had 7 to begin with and lost 3 of them. And I think part of that was due to the heat. I think I lost 1 of them just because, I mean, you lose a rabbit in a litter, out of a litter every once in a while. The other 2, I'm pretty sure, was due to the heat. They just really, really struggle. Took the nest box out, give them more airflow, give them plenty of ventilation. That's one of the reasons I really like these wire cages. You know, they're kind of huddled up in the back right now, but you can see the rabbits are pretty active right now. They do stay, especially in the summertime, a little bit more active in the early morning, late evening, and overnight. But during the heat of the day, these guys, this is what they're doing all day long. In fact, they almost look like they're dead half the time. You come out here and they're just laying there, just you know, and not moving at all. So, you know, again, my best advice with the rabbits is, you know, plenty of fresh water. What is this? Yes, I have 2 Holland lops, and summer's very hard for them, but we have a special fan for them. You know, and yeah, fan's not a problem. Now, you don't want to put a fan in here blowing directly on the rabbits necessarily, but having one above your hutches that moves air around above your hutches is a good idea. That will help a lot. I don't have fans built into my hutches right now. The keys, you know, with the rabbits, again, plenty of ventilation. That's one of the reasons I really like these wire cages. It lets airflow through, it lets ventilation through. Keeping them in the, hi, good morning to you too, and good morning to you is at A. Carlson, okay. Keeping them in the shade too. This is on the north side of my house, so of course the sun is on the south end of the house. So this part right here, the sun never gets past about where I'm standing right now. Never hits this section. This is always in shade all the time. They never get direct sunlight on their hutch. So that helps out a lot too. They've got plenty of fresh water they can drink. They're going through 5 gallons about every, I don't know, about every 5-6 days, something like that. They'll drain that 5 gallon. And right now I've just got the 2 adult rabbits and the 4 babies in there. So the babies, of course, aren't drinking a lot of water right now. As they get bigger, they'll start drinking more, and I'll have to keep an eye on that and make sure it's full all the time. You know, there are some other things you can do for your rabbits. Give them frozen water bottles, like freeze 2-liter bottles full of water, and then throw those in your cages. Those are supposed to help. My rabbits don't really use that. I don't know how much that helps. And the problem I have with that is, like, I'm getting ready to leave for work here in about 5-10 minutes. And I'll be gone all day long. So if I put a water bottle in here right now, a frozen water bottle in here right now, it's not that hot out right now, so they don't really need it right now. And by the time it gets hot, that thing's already melted and it's no longer that cold. So, you know, that's something. These little tile resting mats that I've got in here. Let me grab one out of here. Get back, get back. Yeah, I'm not coming after you, don't worry. Let me set these eggs down so I'm not carrying those around. But this ceramic tile, these are cheap, just $1 or $2. And these do tend to stay a little bit cooler than the outside. So it gives them something kind of cool to lay on. Honestly, they don't use that much either. Most of the time in the heat of the day, they're out here laying on the wire itself, just laying on the wire, stretched out, you know, as much as they can, trying to stay as cool as they can. So that brings me to my other point, which is, in the summertime especially, try to get your chores done with your animals in the morning. Early morning, late evening. What is that? Ceramic tile, awesome idea. Yeah, and they're cheap. They're like $1. Now, you depending on my buck, really, he gets nasty on them. He pees on them. He gets them pretty nasty. I got to wash them off quite a bit. She's not so bad. The doe's not so bad. She'll lay on the tile occasionally and things, but she doesn't get it so dirty, so it's not that big a deal. I want to buy an incubator ultrasonic humidifier. I don't know if it's worth it. Hey, Chris, I want to buy an incubator with automatic ultrasonic humidifier. I'm not sure if it's worth it either. I don't have any experience with those. Anyway, back to the rabbits and all the animals in general. Try to get your chores done. You know, your feeding. Like she's got ear mites right now, so I'm going to treat her for ear mites, which is a couple of drops of olive oil in her ear every day. But do that early morning before the sun gets up, before it gets really hot, or late evening as the sun's gone down and it starts to cool down. Now around here, it doesn't really start to cool down that much in the evening until it's dark, you know, so you can come out with lights and things and do that. But try to do that at those times of day. Don't mess with them at the heat of the day. You know, the middle of the day when it's super hot out, leave them alone. Just let them stay calm. Let them, don't get their heart rates up. Don't get them all worked up. That's my best advice for keeping your rabbits and your other animals happy and healthy in the summer heat is water, shade, and leave them alone. You know, don't get them all worked up. So if I come out here in the middle of the day, these guys are all just kind of, like I said, sprawled out. And if I start messing with them, it gets them worked up and, you know, gets their heart rate up, and, you know, it's that much tougher on them. They're wearing big fur coats. You don't want to be wearing a big fur coat and having to go out and work in the sun in the middle of the day. You know, don't get your rabbits all worked up in the middle of the day either. That's my best advice with that. So anyway, short video today. What are we on? Almost 20 minutes. Took you guys around for the chores, but the chores are done. I got to head to work. I I'm sorry I have not been keeping up with the comments as well lately. I've been struggling to kind of keep up with things. Work has just been incredibly busy right now, but hopefully that's going to slow down a little bit, get back to normal. You know, right now I'm starting my days about 4:30 in the morning. I do some reporting and things like that for an hour and a half. Go take a shower, go take care of my chores, and then I head off to work. And I'm not home from work until about 5-ish, 5:30 at night, and then sometimes I'm having to do some stuff from home in the evening times too. And I'm not complaining about that, like feel sorry for me. Just letting you guys know, if I'm slow to respond to your comments or things like that, forgive me. I'm trying my best to get back on track for that. It's just wearing me out right now, but it won't last forever. It's a temporary thing. It's just a phase we're going through right now, so we'll make it. Oh, you guys want to see the garden real quick? Let me just turn it around. Garden's doing pretty good for the most part. I got a couple of tomato plants over here that just are not taken off yet, but I just got the watering system fixed. They're looking a little scrawny, but they're starting to grow, and they're putting on some blooms. Everything else is doing pretty well. The birdhouse gourds, like where was this? I live in Greensville, South Carolina. It gets hot here, so any suggestions would be appreciated. Yeah, well, again, just shade, water, and as little activity as you can, make them do. Just leave them alone during the heat of the day. Stay away from them. Don't get them worked up. That's my best suggestion. Again, some people have mentioned putting fans. You can put little computer fans on their cages that blow kind of over the top. You don't want it blowing directly on the rabbit where they can't get out of it, but blowing over the top of their cages to move air around is good. If you live in an arid climate, a very dry climate, then misters on your cages can help out a lot too. Don't mist the rabbits, mist the hutch itself, and that evaporative, when it evaporates, it'll keep it several degrees cooler in there. It doesn't work here because it's too humid. Water would just collect and drip off of it. It doesn't evaporate fast enough, and it doesn't really do any good here. But if you live in a dry climate, that can really help. But again, some fans blowing over the top of them. I don't find any of that necessary. Just again, put them in shade, give them plenty of water, leave them alone during the heat of the day. That goes for the quail, that goes for the chickens, that goes for the rabbits, any of those. Leave them alone during the heat of the day. That's my best advice. They do fine. They do struggle a little bit in the heat, but as long as you're not getting them all worked up, you shouldn't have any real problems there. Anyway, again, garden's doing pretty good. Birdhouse gourds are just taking off. I got to keep pushing them back on the trellis I built for them, keep them from growing over on the cucumber trellis that's right next to them. So anyway, guys, I really should probably plan these videos out a little bit better. I have a hard time staying on track on a live broadcast when I'm doing things. How hot is it there? Right now, it's not that hot. I think it's probably 75 or, I don't know, something like that. Maybe close to 80. I don't know. It's not quite that hot yet, but it's going to be probably 90, 95 degrees today. Heat index probably close to 100. It's summertime in Missouri. That's how it is. It's just hot. So you get used to it as a person. You can deal with it. It's not that big of a deal, but the rabbits and the other animals, they deal with it too, but they do struggle a little bit. So it's best to just not mess with them too much during the heat of the day. Let them have that break. Do all your chores in the morning, do all your chores in the evening when it's not hot, and it's a little bit better for them that way. So anyway, it was fun doing chores with you. Well, thanks guys for coming along on the chores. It makes them a little bit more interesting for me. Takes a little longer. It took me about 20 minutes to get the chores done. Usually it's a 10-15 minute job at the most, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. As you can see, it's really not that much work keeping up with, some rabbits, some meat rabbits, some quail, and even the meat chickens. It's really not that, that's pretty much my daily chores. I'll check on them again when I get home from work tonight, make sure they're doing okay, but they're fed for the day, they're watered for the day, got my eggs collected. They don't really need anything else the entire day. So it's really not that much work. It's pretty easy to do. All right, I gotta wrap this up. I gotta get to work. So thanks guys for watching. Thanks for joining me on my chores this morning. Hopefully I'll be available for a Thursday night live broadcast. So far it looks good. Hopefully we'll see you guys there. God bless each and every one of you, and have a great day. Take care.